Hello Divine Souls, and welcome to my channel, Journey of Soul Mastery. I am your host, Rebekah Cortez. If you're new to this channel, the emphasis is empowerment, empowering your states of existence. And the focus of this video is 3 tiers of reclaiming empowerment. This is part 1 of a 3-part series, and this is transforming the unconscious. So let's get started. The unconscious represents your experiences and memories. This is the foundation to which all core beliefs stem from. The third dimension, state of awareness, represents the collective human experience that is anchored into physicality and predominantly an ego-driven state of beingness. The ego is the dominant state of awareness until we choose to transcend ego and elevate our awareness to perceive self from a higher dimensional degree of divine potentiality. Ego is the resistance we experience that is in opposition to our soul frequencies. But let's dive in a little deeper. When you're a young child, you operate in full synchronicity with the vibrational frequency of soul. It isn't until you're exposed to negative imprinting and conditioning that negative programming starts to shape states of conflict that are contradictory to your soul frequencies. Ego-driven conditioning and imprinting that coincide with negative programming of a third-dimensional state of reality or ego-driven states of falseness are always in conflict with a higher authentic truth you are synchronized with when you were born into this life. Ego challenges the very expression of your higher being, and energetic division begins to manifest the more you start to feed into the falseness and abandon your authenticity and divine expression of truth. Every time you contradict through thought, emotion, and action the frequency of soul, this causes an energetic division between the authentic truth of soul and the fragmented counterpart in physicality as human. The core beliefs that are developed can be positive when we are free to express our truth in authentic ways, but when you are exposed to conditions such as ridicule, rejection, punishment, judgment, criticality that oppose your authentic truth is when negative core beliefs start to form, and this distorts your lighted perception of self. The more trauma and lower vibrational opposition an individual experiences, the more it creates negative emotional attachments to memories and experiences and structures the foundation of false core beliefs towards self. False core beliefs are always in opposition to one's authentic core truth and unified states of what soul embodies. Ultimately, the bigger picture of aligning with soul frequencies must involve your willingness to examine from a position of self-love and not judgment or guilt or shame all the shadows that influence your negative core belief system that stem from the unconscious attachment to experiences that caused pain and suffering, that played a significant role in your negative, distorted perception of self and the stimulus of your rejection of self-acceptance. Negative core beliefs are they really influence the way you perceive truth of self, others, and the world. Negative experiences only define you if you abandon your authentic truth to lower your perception of self and choose to adopt the falseness as truth. How does this connect to trauma of past experiences? No matter the level of trauma you have experienced, all lower vibrational experiences, if not addressed in healthy ways that promote healing, create energetic rips in your field that require healing just as much as your heart mind, and body requires healing. We have the ability, from an ego perspective, to deny ourselves the right of healing. Ego resists change because ego has the standpoint that good enough is good enough, and it doesn't have a deep drive to stimulate change. Ego likes to stay in familiar territory, even if the familiar is toxic. We can convince ourselves that the pain of our past doesn't influence our current well-being, but the wounds of the past will remain and cause suffering and distort the way you manage yourself in the way you extend yourself to the world and the experiences you pull to, until you choose to explore the shadows to heal what requires closure, resolve, and healing. We all must face our internal fears because it's part of the healing process. Facing the fears that dwindle in the unconscious states are not just about facing the experiences or people of your past. It's about facing the fears that we attach to and validated in our minds as truth regarding ourselves. The pain from the conditions of our past stimulated the fear, but as long as we are attached to the fears of our past, the more fear will be the driving force we operate from as we navigate through life. Fears distort our perceptions, and we will not pull to us experiences that resonate with unconditional fulfillment if we continue to imprison ourselves to fear. We will always experience triggers that spiral us into negative emotional states that stimulate stress, anxiety, anger, resentment, uneasiness, discontentment, and all lower vibrational emotions if we remain unwilling to tend to the internal garden and pull out the weeds of all the unwanted we are attaching to that influence our states of existence. Our deepest emotions and feelings reinforce our belief systems on all levels. When we are subjected to conditions that create trauma, we must look inward to identify the core of the belief that created the fears we adopted as truth. A lot of people allow the conditions that caused the trauma of their past to reinforce the belief that they are still powerless, still unworthy of love, still unworthy of safety, and the list goes on. And fear ignites a trigger that vibrates through our entire beingness internally whenever we encounter something that touches those sensitive, unresolved aspects that still require healing. The largest aspect of healing is to choose self-love, self-worth, and self-empowerment despite the experiences or conditions you have been subjected to. Your highest frequency of soul is always encouraging you to find peace with the experiences that create suffering. And the only way to find peace is not wishing it never happened, because we can't go back in time. The power of self-empowerment is that you agree to offer yourself what others are not or were not willing to offer to you. The only way to find peace is to choose to believe you are worthy of experiencing the desirable, and to let go of fears that create the distortion of perception towards yourself, others, and the world. You must at some point choose to believe that you are worthy of feeling higher emotions for yourself and let go of the negative lower vibrational emotions that cause you suffering. You must choose to love yourself, choose to look at yourself as strong, worthy, valuable, and choose not to believe the negative influences surrounding the conditions that stimulated you to believe otherwise. You can't hide in denial and expect everything to be resolved and healed. We must face the undesirable that we have experienced and transmute it into peace by embracing the biggest lesson in it, which is believing you are worthy of the direct opposite of the negative condition, to the point that you give yourself permission to be the best version of yourself and align with the lighted awareness of soul. You must align with this deep truth enough to let go of the victim, to let go of the pain, to let go of the expectation that you will receive healing from any external source. External satisfaction only comes as long as the other person is acting in accordance with your expectations. But the moment that they display any actions that come close to the past that you are still attached to, the pain will trigger fears, and the illusion of security will quickly dismantle, leaving you to experience more pain and suffering that will compound your instability. You must be what you seek to experience, meaning you must offer to yourself all that you seek to acquire from others that you are denying yourself internally. To truly heal self is to be to and for yourself all the gaps in between that the unwanted didn't provide you, which is love, nurturing, acceptance, approval, worthiness, value, equality, emotional stability, safety, belonging, and peace. You must choose to offer these things to yourself if you are to break free from the attachments that keep you imprisoned in falseness of what your past experiences of influence have structured within your belief system regarding yourself. When you go into the shadows, don't revisit the experience itself and force yourself to relive that horror all over again. The point is to examine the nuances that are below the surface of the experience itself, such as the core beliefs you are attached to that create the distorted perceptions of yourself, fears you harbor that paralyze you to move beyond the negative emotions, to find peace and resolve on the other side. We all must face our fears in unique ways. I have gone through this process myself of facing my fears, and I can assure you there is peace on the other side if you just allow yourself the right to detach from the beliefs that disempower you into states driven by fear. Make a list of all the emotions you want to feel and experience internally regarding self, and believe you are strong enough to build the foundation that will offer those elements to yourself. When you get to the deep core of what you want to experience, you will be able to heal your negative attachments to the fear and negative experiences of your past, because you're shifting your focus off of the past and into what is going to lead you in the future based on what you desire and not what you don't desire. When you experience a trigger and you feel the negative emotions well up inside, take a deep breath and remind yourself that there is a positive on the other side of that fear if you have the courage to identify it. Remind yourself that fear is only triggering because you believe you are powerless against something, which you must deprogram from your unconscious states by fueling positivity in your belief system that promotes self-empowering states of being and existence. You must reinforce truth to start reprogramming the falseness. You must reinforce thoughts, emotions, and beliefs towards self to reflect a state of awareness that embraces the truth of how worthy you are, how valuable you are, and how capable you are of experiencing the opposite of that fear that is shielding you from embracing yourself fully. Experiences that have caused pain that you are seeking answers to always lead back to your willingness to change the things that you have control to change and strengthen the things you have courage to strengthen within you. Only you can offer yourself what is necessary for healing to transpire. Only take from your past the lessons that each experience taught you and let the rest go. It's not the conditions that were inflicted onto you that you suffer the most from. What causes you the most pain is that falseness that you have attached to that creates the thoughts and fears that you are not strong enough to get past the experience or conditions that caused you this pain. You have allowed the experiences to disempower you to the point that now you believe at your core that this is the best it gets for you. And this creates more falseness that creates more pain, suffering, and disempowerment. You are so much more than you have been negatively conditioned to believe you are. It is my intention to encourage you to return to your empowerment and be all that others stated you were never good enough to be. Not from an ego-driven state of vengeance or anger, but out of utter love for yourself, because you are worthy of experiencing your full lighted potential in this life. And only you can return yourself to that authentic, higher state of being. No one and nothing else can do this for you. Yes, we can experience dynamics that fill us with positive emotions, but if you cleave to or attach to an external source in such a way that you are seeking healing based on their ability to unconditionally love you, then it is only a matter of time that dynamic will become conditional and trigger emotions that stimulate a reminder of the unfulfillment in some way that you're denying yourself internally. This happens so that you elevate the potential of the relationship to reach a higher foundation where each person on an individual level is doing what their responsibility is to do, which is the independent work within themselves and honoring their own growth cycles so that the unit as a whole reach an elevated vibration that is more stable and resonates in the spectrum of unconditional fulfillment in healthy ways and not codependent ways. We change the unwanted external experiences of existence when we change the inner workings and foundations of our internal world. Shadow work is more about going into the aspects that are disempowering your conscious potential to return to an elevated perception regarding self. We must find value in introspection and shadow work because our unconscious holds both the wanted and the unwanted attachments based on the experiences and memories we have been exposed to. If we are unwilling to address the unconscious, we will not heal the core of self and elevate what is required to return to states that resonate with soul frequencies. We must elevate our awareness to embrace the liberation that comes by ceasing to conceive of anything being outside of our scope of it to attain. We must cease to believe that anything is outside of our scope to attain or acquire, achieve, embrace, embody, and experience in our realities of existence. We must heal our deepest core belief system regarding ourselves to successfully alter the information we feed into the subconscious to be stored that influences our behaviors, attitudes, perceptions, and how we navigate and manage our external existence. In part 2, I'll be going into the aspects of the subconscious. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Make sure you like the video, click the bell to receive notifications, and share this information with someone who you feel can benefit. Bye for now.